Voilà. Donc,
Eh bien, bonjour à tous. Merci, merci à tous les réalisateurs d'être là avec nous. C'est notre première discussion avec un panel. Donc, j'espère que tout va bien se passer. Welcome, I was saying, sorry, in French. Well, I was welcoming all the filmmakers who are joining us from France. And we're very excited because we usually do not have the opportunity to talk to that many filmmakers at the same time, and especially the César nominated filmmakers talk what it means for them, the César, and how they there are different, how they came to direct their films, and all the different background. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion. So without further ado, Kevin, if you want to start.
yeah, sure. So I am going to first of all say, well, welcome to everybody, of course, and thank you all for being here, and particularly thank you to our guests from France for taking the time out to be with us today. Donc, merci d'avoir pris le temps de venir à Sacramento, même si c'est virtuellement. C'est vraiment un plaisir de vous accueillir. Nous avons une traductrice, Marie Cosnard, qui va aider avec la traduction. So we have a translator. And the first thing I would say is the best way to watch today, I think, would be to put your view in speaker view rather than in gallery view, because that way you will see the person speaking as opposed to seeing, looking for them in the little boxes, because we do have, my screen only holds 25, so I have to keep looking on 2 screens to be able to see everybody. Otherwise, if you would please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. That way the background noise won't bring your camera up front. Voilà, donc merci beaucoup à tous d'être venus. Donc la meilleure façon de regarder, à mon avis, c'est d'utiliser la vue qui est sur la personne qui parle plutôt que sur la vision où on voit toutes les petites boîtes. Je vais d'abord dire aux réalisateurs et écrivains s'ils peuvent nous parler un petit peu de quelle était l'inspiration, d'où est venue l'idée de faire le film qu'ils ont fait. Et so what brought them to this film? What was their inspiration for the film? And that's the question that I'm going to ask them. And I wonder if there's one of you who'd like to speak first. Or should I just pick? How about Claire? Would you like to go first?
Why me? Okay.
You have a big smile on your face, so I thought I'd pick you.
Okay, well, at first I wanted to say that I'm the co-writer of the film and the producer as well. So the first idea of the film, which is Schum's Odyssey, targeted to young audience, is not coming from me especially. It was an idea from Julien Bizarro, who is the director and co-writer of the film. And he has the first idea about being, telling the story of a little owl who is hatching in a tree during a storm. And he wanted to tell this story at first in a VR short film on, mobile phone. And this specific project didn't come out in the end, and we choose altogether to develop the story and to find a way to tell the story in a 26-minute long film. And then we had the idea to put the second egg of the brood in the situation, and to tell a story between both the character, the little owl, and a little brother. Yeah. It's more or less that. I can't hear you.
Thank you. I turned my microphone off and I keep forgetting to turn it back on. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mathilde Profik, would you mind talking a little bit about your inspiration for First Goodbyes?
Alors, c'est pas un souvenir forcément heureux, mais j'ai perdu mon père qui est mort prématurément d'une maladie. Et j'ai été maman pour la première fois la même année. Et j'avais envie de parler du fait d'être parent et enfant et d'une séparation, mais qui n'était pas un deuil réel, de trouver une métaphore en fait pour parler de cette séparation.
Oh, très bien.
So the initial inspiration is actually a sad story. She lost her dad prematurely, and the same year she became a mom for the first time. And so she wanted to describe this being a parent and being a child at the same time through a different metaphor, which created this film.
Okay, thank you, and sorry for your loss. It's always hard. Marie Lefloc, would you mind telling us about your inspiration for Among the Almond Trees?
Yes, yeah, I could try in English, but it won't be perfect. I don't know.
It doesn't matter if your English is
Which one?
perfect. It's always lovely to hear.
So in English, en français alors. Bah, du coup,
C'est comme vous préférez. Si vous êtes plus à l'aise en français, faites-le en français puis on traduit. Ou si vous avez envie de l'aventure et d'essayer de faire en anglais, faites-le. C'est comme vous voulez.
okay, I try. So it will be a training.
Yeah.
So the first desire was to talk about what keeps us together as a couple or as a family. And the story takes place because it was a cross between two experiences, a job in the fish factory during a summer. I had the same job than my son in the story. And then I met a woman, a Syrian woman, who was in the opposite situation. She wanted to divorce from her husband, but they advised her to wait before launch the procedure. And I feel it was interesting, the paradox between administrative answer and a separation of a family. And it was for me the opportunity to talk about all that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Thanks. Agnès, and then the bear. Agnès Patron, what was your inspiration for this? Quelle était votre inspiration pour ce film?
Okay, sorry. My inspiration for the film was mainly my son, who was born during my last short film and who grew up with the scenario of this one, of And Then the Bear. And as he grew up, he got more and more angry. And he was having these furious moments. Every children has, I think, but it was really violent for me as a mother. And I was thinking, what if all the children did this in the same time? And what if they were helped by strong creatures like bears? And with Joanna Kravzik, my co-writer, we built the story like this with my son growing up. And
very good. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Loïc Barchet for Aventure Atomique. Where did this idea come from?
Je vais parler en français, je parle pas très bien.
D'accord, oui, pas de problème.
En fait, l'idée de départ, c'est quand j'ai découvert une mission qui a eu lieu en 1961 dans le Sahara algérien, à une époque où l'Algérie était encore française. Et c'était un moment où la France développait la bombe atomique. Et après la 4e explosion atomique, on a demandé à des soldats de se rapprocher 20 minutes après l'explosion de cette bombe. On a demandé à des soldats de se rapprocher du point zéro. Le point zéro, c'est l'endroit où a explosé la bombe, en leur disant que c'était très dangereux ce qu'ils faisaient, parce qu'ils risquaient de recevoir les rayonnements radioactifs, mais que c'était hyper important qu'ils le fassent pour le progrès de la France, pour développer le nucléaire, et ça représentait toute une économie florissante on était en plein dans les 30 glorieuses. Et du coup, il y avait tout un rêve de l'économie française florissante qui était là-dedans, comparé au danger que risquaient ces soldats. Et la question du progrès et de ce qu'on envisage derrière ce mot-là, moi, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéressait beaucoup, enfin, qui m'intéresse toujours beaucoup. Et j'avais l'impression que dans cette mission-là, on pouvait raconter tous ces questionnements.
So it stems from an event in Algeria in 1961, a real event. So Algeria was still a French territory at the time, and France was holding nuclear tests in the Algerian Sahara, trying to develop the atomic bomb. And after the fourth explosion there, they asked soldiers to go to point zero, to really go to the heart of the explosion, to analyze it and to study it, all in the name of progress, because the nuclear development was great news for a flourishing economy. And he really liked this opposition and contrast between doing something for the greater good and also the risk that these soldiers individually were going through, being so close to radiation.
Merci Marie, et merci à tout le monde de nous avoir présenté votre film. So thank you everyone for presenting your film. I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. If you have questions, you can either use the raise hand in the reactions, or you can, and I'll do my best to follow that, or you can put your questions in the chat. And for those of you using chat, you just click on the chat button that's at the bottom of the screen and you should see what people are writing in the chat. Donc pour tout le monde, si vous voulez voir ce que des gens, parce que parfois ils mettent des questions, parfois ils mettent des commentaires dans le chat, vous pouvez cliquer sur chat en bas de l'écran et comme ça viendra sur le côté et vous pourriez voir les commentaires. Comme par exemple Ellie qui a écrit « I love the first goodbye, thank you for such a wonderful story ». And then Monette writes for an incredible score on the Bear film, terrific. And the question now is, how did the Bear film get scored? The music made the film so much more meaningful. Did you work day to day with the person who developed the music? Fabulous, and even better on the second watching. So Marie, could you translate for And Now the Bear? And Agnès, if you could answer that question about the music. Marie.
La question, c'était sur la bande originale de L'Or de l'Ours. Comment est-ce que la musique a été développée? Enfin, elle apporte vraiment quelque chose au film et est-ce que à sa signification. Est-ce que vous avez travaillé au jour le jour avec la personne, avec les compositeurs? Comment a été développée la musique du film? Ah, vous êtes en silencieux encore.
J'ai dit, je vais répondre en français, je chercherai moins mes mots comme ça. Pour la musique, en tout cas, c'est plus facile pour moi. En fait, j'ai travaillé avec Pierre Oberkampf, qui est un compositeur de musique avec qui j'avais déjà travaillé sur mes précédents projets, donc on se connaît bien. À vrai dire, c'est aussi le père de mon petit garçon, donc il était très investi dans l'histoire. Et c'était très facile de travailler avec lui parce que je l'avais sous la main. Donc, c'est vrai qu'on a beaucoup échangé et beaucoup parlé. Et qu'on a pu affiner très régulièrement ensemble les intentions musicales. Et en gros, j'avais cette idée d'une forme répétitive. Enfin, moi, je suis pas musicienne, mais il avait composé des formes répétitives qu'on appelle les ostinati. Et voilà, je voulais cette forme répétitive qui me semblait être extrêmement proche de la manière dont la colère d'un enfant se nourrit elle-même, puis gonfle. Et donc, on est parti là-dessus et on a commencé à écrire. En gros, lui a écrit le morceau de fin et ensuite, on est revenu doucement vers le début.
So she worked hand in hand with Pierre Robert Kampf, who realized the music score and who happens to be the father of her child who inspired the film. So not only was he readily available, but also he knew exactly what the intention was and where, you know, the whole film originated. And they refined the score together. And the repetitiveness of it, the how it's shaped and repeating itself all the time, it was really inspired from her son's temper tantrums and how his anger was growing. And they actually started with the ending of the film, and then progressively developed the beginning of the film's score.
Merci, merci Marie, merci Agnès. Raphael, you have your hand up. If you could unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hi, actually it's Emma. C'est une question pour Marie Le Floch. J'ai beaucoup aimé le film et je voulais savoir si vous alliez faire une version plus longue. Et as a fun fact, j'ai grandi à Lorient et j'ai travaillé aussi dans une usine de poissons. Donc j'ai vraiment
Ah.
envie de savoir la suite du film.
Je vais rapidement traduire la question. So Emma is asking Marie Le Floch for the film Among the Almond Trees, if there would ever be a longer film of it. And for the little story, Emma has lived in Brittany and has also worked at a fish factory. So she really wants to know what happens next.
Du coup, je réponds en français, mais j'écris un long métrage qui sensible, enfin c'est presque sûr qu'il se tournera à Lorient. Après, c'est pas la suite du court métrage. Voilà, mais je suis contente du coup que vous soyez lorientaise et que vous l'ayez vu.
Et juste une dernière petite chose, mes parents m'ont même envoyé des articles sur vous dans Ouest France. Donc toute la famille vous encourage beaucoup.
Oui. Merci. Mes producteurs, oui, ont fait plein de choses, du coup, ouais. Merci beaucoup en tout cas.
So Marie is developing another longer feature film, also based in Brittany and in the city of Lorient. It won't be a sequel, or it won't be directly linked to the story of Among the Almond Trees.
Actually, I had this question for most of you. I mean, not most, but some of you. Like, is there a plan for a longer film? Because one of our audience members sent me an email telling me, I wish that all these that most of these films were becoming long stories, because they want to know more. We want to know what happens to the soldiers at the end of the Atomic Adventure. We want to know what happens to this couple. We want to know what happens to the daughter and her dad. And so, I mean, is there any? I don't know who wants to. Mathilde, maybe. Do you have a plan for something long, a long feature film?
Alors, moi, je peux répondre que non, il n'y aura pas de... Enfin, c'est un film qui était pensé comme un tout, et il n'y aura pas d'histoire longue avec les mêmes personnages, en tout cas. Ça, c'est sûr.
Okay. But are you planning on doing some other shorts? We haven't talked about your past histories. Like, was it your first film? Do you have anything planned? Oh, that's for all of you.
Je réponds.
Oui.
Moi, oui, c'était mon premier film en tant que réalisatrice. Je suis Script Continuity, je crois que vous dites aux États-Unis. depuis 12 ans pour d'autres films. Et c'est le premier film que j'écris et que je réalise. Et normalement, je vais tourner 2 autres courts-métrages cette année, là, dans les 6 mois qui viennent. Et je suis en train d'écrire un long-métrage, voilà. Et je continue à être script en même temps. Voilà.
So for Mathilde Profit, who made First Goodbyes, this was really thought out as a short film. It was this is a it was created like that, and it was the first time she was directing and writing. It was her first full movie, and she is currently working on 2 other shorts and also writing for a longer feature film.
Does anybody else have anything to say about making their shots into a feature film, or making what's in the future for you all? What are your plans?
Well, I can answer if you want.
Mhm.
As you know, we are only doing for the moment some animated film, and Schum's Odyssey was only one unique film, but we intend to work on a longer story, but without different characters and in another place. Of course, it will be longer, and but it will also be targeted to the same audience, meaning that we are very interested in continuing in One King 4, and the little ones, maybe 3 years old, starting 3 years old, as it was the case for Schum Odyssey, but with a very large audience, family audience, let's say. So yeah, this is the next step.
Loïc, did you have? Are we going to know what happened to these poor soldiers?
En fait, non. Non. Je suis en train d'écrire un film. Je suis en train d'écrire un long métrage qui traite un petit peu du même sujet et des mêmes questionnements. C'est toujours sur le nucléaire, mais 60 ans plus tard, le nucléaire aujourd'hui. Mais je prévois pas de faire un long métrage qui développerait un petit peu ça. Et c'est vrai que ça fait partie aussi du jeu du court métrage, de faire des histoires très courtes et qui laissent du coup à la fin souvent une porte ouverte un peu plus grande et des questions très ouvertes aux spectateurs. C'est-à-dire que c'est une solution pour nous, j'ai l'impression, en faisant des films courts, ça nous arrange, et c'est une solution d'interroger le spectateur sur ce qui va se passer après.
So Loïc is preparing a longer feature film. It will have the same themes. It's not the sequel or anything like that of the Atomic Adventure. It will have the same themes, questioning nuclear development, but how it is today. Part of the short film experience, drawing back to the Atomic Adventure, is not to tell the full story. It's to leave a door open and create a questioning in the viewers' minds, and this is what he's interested in, and that was the point of the short film too, not to give necessarily an ending to it.
I have a question from the chat about First Goodbyes. It's from Sony. Was it to imply that the girl's mother was pregnant shortly after she got back together with her husband, and that may be the only reason they reunited? And the daughter may have been conceived by another man. Si tu pourrais traduire, Marie.
Est-ce que is this about First Goodbyes, or is it about
First Goodbyes, oui.
Okay. Est-ce que ça impliquait que la mère était enceinte juste après s'être remise avec son mari, ou bien est-ce que c'était la seule raison qu'ils soient réunis? La fille a-t-elle été conçue avec un autre homme?
En fait, je peux pas vous dire, je ne sais pas. Tout ce que je sais, c'est que peut-être que pour moi, c'était important qu'il lui transmette quelque chose de la fragilité de son histoire, qu'on raconte souvent aux enfants, quelque chose de très enfin, de très solide, ou en tout cas les enfants se font une idée de leur histoire de parents, de naissance. Et tout à coup, là, pour moi, c'était touchant d'avoir un père qui tout à coup donne quelque chose de peut-être de douloureux, montre la faille en fait qui est possible dans le couple et que ça n'a pas empêché son existence. C'est quelque chose qu'elle peut entendre que parce qu'elle est grande, quoi. Enfin, je sais pas si c'est clair ce que je veux dire, mais c'est une sorte de cadeau, quoi, de dire la complexité d'une relation. Alors après, est-ce que tout ça, ça les regarde? J'en sais rien. Juste, il lui dit que ça tenait peut-être pas à grand-chose, son existence à elle, et que le couple, ça tient pas à grand-chose parfois. Voilà.
She can't really say. It's really like a gift from the father to the daughter to give a bit of its fragility, to open up about his vulnerability, to say that life is not always. It can, you know, be on a small coincidence, or so it was really to open a window of fragility in their relationship. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question in the chat, and it's for all the films. I was wondering when these films were made from idea to completion, especially with L'Aventure Atomique. I wondered if being in the middle of a pandemic brought about interest in other stories that were set in the middle of a historic moment.
Quand est-ce que les films ont été conçus? Est-ce que le fait d'être en pleine pandémie, il y a eu une influence, par exemple, sur l'aventure atomique, comment ça a été réalisé?
En fait, le film L'Aventure Atomique, ça a été tourné en 2018. Donc, c'était avant la pandémie. En fait, en général, les films arrivent au César vraiment assez longtemps après qu'ils aient été terminés. Après, je ne sais pas, mais par rapport à l'Aventure Atomique, comme on pose la question dans le film des choix qu'on fait et de quel choix on fait pour la suite de l'humanité, évidemment, ce qu'on vit en ce moment, ça va dans le sens de ces questionnements, quoi, et ça donne envie de continuer à réfléchir là-dessus.
So The Atomic Adventure was actually shot in 2018. Usually the films, before they make their way to the César Awards, it takes a little bit of time. But the theme is still very much relevant. It's a type of questioning that is very relevant with what is happening today about our choices collectively. And yeah.
Okay, très bien. Thank you. Et les autres, est-ce que vous aimeriez nous dire combien de temps vous avez mis pour faire le film? Agnès, par exemple, si vous voulez commencer.
Oui, le film a pris depuis l'écriture jusqu'à la fin de la post-production, je dirais bien 2 ans. Et le tournage en lui-même, le tournage des images, 6 mois et demi, à peu près.
So for and then The Bear, it took about 2 years from the first being written to post-production, and the images themselves, to shoot the images, it was about 6.5 months.
Et Marie, pour Among the Almond Trees?
Yes, for me, the first idea, it was during the summer of 2017. Then writing and searching for fundings, but I was working in the same time on other things. The shooting was during the summer 2018, and we finished the film in January 2019. So 2 years.
2 years, wow.
Mm. But I was working on other things.
Other things at the same time, yeah, very good. Claire, how long did it take to do the Shum?
Shum, I think it was 3 years. Again, it's like, very always long to produce animation because it's a long process of fabrication. But we have the first idea in 2017, I think, and the most of the production was done in 2019, and the film will release end of this year, 2019. So yeah, more or less 3 years.
Yeah, wow.
Which is not so long because it's 26 minutes.
Right.
Anyway,
Good. And Mathilde, how long did it take you to make an adieu?
J'ai écrit le film et j'ai décidé de le faire presque 1 an après l'avoir écrit. J'ai douté. Et donc, après, il s'est passé encore 1 année, donc 3 ans, mais avec 1 année de doute où il ne s'est absolument rien passé. Parce que juste, je n'arrivais pas à faire le premier pas.
In total, it took 3 years, but because from the time of writing to when she started it, there was 1 year of doubt where she absolutely nothing was actually done. She was just doubting whether to go ahead and take the first step with it, but 3 years in total.
Thank you. Thank you. Cecile, could you read a couple of the questions in the chat?
Yeah, I'm trying to. There was a question about the end music at the end of the Atomic Adventure, and there was another one about the Atomic Adventure. Yeah, and it was just more a comment. Somebody saying that it was Ellie saying that. They did some research on the French nuclear program in the 1960s after watching the short films, and that they would love to see a longer length documentary about it. But Loïc, si vous voulez parler de la musique à la fin du film.
Oui, tout à fait. Alors, des documentaires, il y en a un qui existe qui s'appelle Gerboise Bleue. Gerboise Bleue, c'est le nom c'est le nom de la première explosion atomique. À chaque fois, c'était gerboise avec une couleur différente. Et donc ça, c'est un documentaire qui est trouvable. Après, comme c'est un sujet qui est assez difficile et dont on ne parle pas très volontiers en France, voilà, c'est assez difficile d'avoir des choses sur le sujet. Après, concernant la musique, ça, c'était très important pour moi d'avoir cette musique-là très joyeuse qui intervient à 2 moments dans le film. À un moment où le scientifique vante les qualités du progrès et de la croissance économique qui arrive à ce moment-là qui arrive en France, et puis du coup de remettre ce thème-là très joyeux à la fin du film de façon un peu ironique en disant voilà, ce que vous avez vécu, c'est l'aventure atomique, ça a l'air d'être un titre d'une aventure de Tintin, et en fait ce qui s'est passé, c'est quelque chose d'atroce. Et c'était assez important pour moi d'avoir quelque chose de très enlevé, de très joyeux, parce qu'aujourd'hui, dès qu'on voit un champignon atomique, on se dit, bah voilà, c'est une image de fin du monde. Mais en fait, les décisions qu'on a prises à cette époque-là, on ne les a pas prises de façon sérieuse et concentrée et grave. On les a prises de façon très joyeuse dans un grand éclat de rire, et que en fait, les décisions terribles, on les prend souvent dans un grand éclat de rire. Et c'était un petit peu pour montrer ça de façon ironique.
So there was a documentary called Gerboise Bleue, which relates on this part of history. But it's very hard to find a lot of documentation because it's still very taboo. It's being discussed, but it's not. It's a difficult part of history. And the fact that he put this joyful music at 2 moments in the film. One moment is when the scientist is really promoting the economic growth that's going to go with the progress in nuclear technology. And then again, at the end, we really wanted to correlate how now when we see this mushroom shape nowadays, we know that it is something negative and terrible. But at the time, the way these decisions were made, it was just done with laughter and just talk of progress, and that there wasn't really a lot of depth put to this decision making at the time.
Thank you. Marc, would you like to ask your question, please?
Oui, ça tombe bien parce que c'est aussi une question pour Loïc. J'ai bien aimé son film, je connais le Sahara. Il y a quelque chose qui m'a chagriné, c'est quand les soldats sont enterrés dans le sable avec leur tenue anti-radiation. Si j'ai bien compris, ils ont simplement un filtre derrière le casque et j'ai pas compris comment ils pouvaient survivre plusieurs heures sous le sable à respirer. Pour moi, c'est impossible. Alors, je ne sais pas si c'est quelque chose que vous avez étudié.
Ça, c'est quelque chose qui s'est pas réellement produit. Le fait de...
Loïc, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could Marie just, would you mind, Marie,
I could,
translate the question? Sorry.
Yeah, the question was regarding in the Atomic Adventure, how was it possible that they survive in the sand for a few hours? The way he sees it, there's only a small filter in the back of the helmets. Back to Loïc.
Ok, merci. Désolé, Loïc, merci.
Donc ça c'est quelque chose qui n'a pas réellement eu lieu. Après, ce qui était important pour moi dans le film, c'était de faire un film qui se passait en 1961 en Algérie, et de créer des images qui puissent faire un pont entre 1961 et la situation qu'on connaît aujourd'hui. Et de faire en sorte que plus on avance dans le film, plus on aille vers des images qui soient abstraites, que plus on avance avec les personnages, plus on aille vers l'abstraction. Et du coup, quand il s'enterre dans le sable à la fin du film, c'est pour créer une image, une métaphore de ce qu'on vit aujourd'hui et de se dire, bon, bah, en fait, les décisions qu'on a prises dans les années 60 ou à cette époque-là font qu'aujourd'hui, c'est nous qui sommes en train de nous enterrer dans le sable. Après, ça c'est pour le côté abstrait, et du coup, c'est vrai qu'il y a des choses plus concrètes, de savoir, bon, bah, du coup, comment est-ce qu'il respire. Moi, dans le film, on laisse volontairement planer le doute sur combien de temps se passe quand ils sont enterrés dans le sable. Est-ce que c'est plusieurs heures? Est-ce que c'est quelques minutes? Après, on s'est dit que voilà, quand on s'enterre dans le sable, ils ont un petit peu ils tapent le sable ils tassent le sable avec les mains, ils ont un petit peu d'air dans le casque, et on s'est dit que ça suffisait. Les acteurs se sont enterrés quelques minutes dans le sable et ils n'ont pas, aucun n'est mort. On a réussi à ramener tout le monde.
So that is actually not real. It's not something that really. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So this was not real. He wanted to create a bridge between 1961 and today. And so the further we go into the film, the more and more abstract things become. And so his decision was to show that whatever was decided in 1961 causes us today to stick our heads into the sand, and that we're suffering the consequences from that. He also on purpose left a doubt about how long they were actually in the sand. You know, the viewer can see it as a couple minutes or a couple hours. In reality, when they shot this, the actors were only under the sand for just a couple minutes, and no one died in the shooting of this film.
Très bien, merci. Emma and Raphael, you had a question.
Yeah, this is Raphael. I had a question for Claire about Shum. I loved it, and it was beautiful and had this environmental theme and hopeful theme. And I'm not 3 years old, so I had a question about the writing. So was it meant for from 3 to 30 or adults? Was one question. And then what was the writing process with the animations? So 2 questions.
Yeah, well, it was at the very beginning. It was aimed to young people, because around 5 years old or something. Because the story is about this little owl who is hatching, and we wanted to follow her in first step in the countryside and the discovering of everything, etc. And we thought that it would be a very nice topic for little ones to understand. and to discover all the nature and all the elements and animals with the little character. And in the process of writing, we realized that it would be interesting to have another level, you know, to have some more content, and not to have such a simple way of telling the story. And this is the reason why we put some new elements and try to have something about indeed the situation, about the climate, how can we survive to such a big event as a storm, which is the very beginning of the story. But you can imagine that it might be something different, a bigger event. And all we wanted to say was, even if you are, you know, in a situation to have to live in such a terrible moment, sorry, you can always find a way to build a new home and to find a new family, even if it is not your primary family. It's a foster mom or an adoptive mom they are finding at the very end of the story. Sorry, I'm just spoiling the end, but yeah, I think it was in the end it's quite a new universal topic. So it happens to work also on grown-up, on parents, of course, because parenthood is at stake in the story as well, and also on grandparents, because there is something about, you know, how to protect the little ones. So yeah, it happened to be a film with different level of lecture, which is quite, I think, important. It was a little bit of a surprise to us. Yeah, you know. And
Yeah, I can. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, but
No,
because
oh, go on.
Oh, I don't know. There was another part of the question, but I will answer afterwards. Please, Cécile. Yeah.
No. I just wanted to say that I watched the film with my 18-year-old son, and he just loved it. So I wanted to say I can relate that it's really that
Yeah,
a lot of every
fantastic.
age loved it.
Yeah.
It must feel good, you know. That's kind of what we need.
Yeah.
Yes.
My wife and I are both 61 and we both loved it. So
oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah,
so go on.
Well, I think that the other part of the question was about the animation process. Was that? Yeah. Sorry, I've lost.
Yeah, how you the writing and animation together. Yes.
Writing and animation. It happens that I'm a scriptwriter, so I write screenplays, and Julien Bizarro is a director, and he used to, you know, is very good at directing and staging, etc. So our process is that we are working on some situation like that, you know, brainstorming, finding ideas, finding, you know, action, and it tests the situation on storyboarding, by storyboarding, let's say, and then is storyboard, okay, in a very quick and efficient way, and then we get back to writing. Some things are working well, some things are not so convincing. So we came back to writing and back and forth. This is the way we are always working. So it's a little bit longer maybe, but I think that it's giving a kind of a strength to the situation, and yeah, as it's really a process that we are doing with 4 hands, let's say. We continue to work till the montage, editing, till the editing. We work together, and so and as we are producing the film itself, I think that in the end, this kind of way of working gives consistency may say, to the work itself. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. René, did you have a question? You had your hand up.
Well, I wanted to make a statement. I wanted to up the ante that I'm 83 and I enjoyed it so much I watched it twice. I would just like her to know that. I also have a question for almond trees. I may have misunderstood this, but seemed to be an initial comment was that it was inspired by a woman who wanted to divorce her husband. And yet, if I understood the film correctly, it was the opposite. And if that's true, why the switch between genders?
Du coup, Marie, ouais, la question est sur votre film. Est-ce que ça a été inspiré par une histoire où c'est l'épouse qui veut divorcer et là, dans votre film, c'est le mari qui souhaite divorcer? Est-ce que ça a été inspiré par une histoire? So, René, what is the inspiration that you're speaking of?
What my
in which story is it?
The almond trees.
Okay.
Her inspiration for the story was that I think it was a woman who told her that she wanted to divorce her husband.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, it's switch.
Okay. Du coup, ça a été inspiré par une histoire où c'était l'épouse qui voulait divorcer. Et là, en fait, c'est le changement. Pourquoi avoir changé cette histoire pour que ce soit le mari qui souhaite divorcer?
Okay. I think it was many things. I think that first I didn't want that there it could be in fact je vais parler en français. En fait, j'avais envie qu'il puisse avoir une lecture culturelle par rapport à un mari très conservateur. En tout cas, cette femme que j'avais rencontrée, c'était il y avait une lecture très culturelle de son histoire aussi, de tout ce qu'elle avait vécu avant et de la façon dont était son mari. Et en fait, je sais pas, j'avais une sorte de crainte qu'il puisse avoir une lecture culturelle, voire religieuse par rapport à tout ça. Et c'est pas que je trouvais ça pas intéressant, mais c'est que c'était vraiment pas le sujet du film. Le sujet du film, c'était l'histoire de cette famille, de ce couple. C'était une histoire très intime. Et du coup, j'avais envie un petit peu que ça soit vraiment pas du tout la question. Et dans le même temps, je crois que j'avais un désir de personnage féminin, en tout cas sur ce film-là, qui est prête à tout pour quelque chose, quitte à prendre des risques. Et ça s'est fait assez instinctivement. J'ai pas vraiment réfléchi au changement, quoi. Il y a eu plein de choses en même temps.
So she realized there could be a cultural reading about the woman wanting to divorce, or perhaps even it could lead to religious discussions or questionings in the way it was read and conceived by an audience. And it's not that wouldn't have been interesting, but this was not the topic for her in her mind. Quite instinctively, she gravitated towards a feminine character. She didn't really think about it more than that. It came very instinctively. She had the desire to develop the feminine character in her story.
Merci.
You're welcome.
Marie, sorry, there was another question, and it's vous comprenez quand je parle anglais?
Oui.
La question. So the other question was regarding the title of the film, and is it a famous poem? What's the significance of that, of the title, and what's the significance for the couple? That's my question added to the other one.
Okay. In fact, the title it's the first sentence that he had. So my son's husband wrote to her at the beginning of their relationship. It was, "I will be among the almond trees near the stone wall. Put your blue dress." And she tried to write it on the fishing boxes to remind him something. And it's not a symbol, it's just something very emotional. And I wrote it at the moment of the script. And just before the shooting, I I think I was make a Google search because I see the other question about the book. I will be among the almond trees, and there is a book which has the same title. It's Hussein Barghouti, but at the moment of the script, I didn't remember. But just before the shooting, I remember this book. I read at school. So I think it has been an inspiration for me, but I didn't know. At the moment I write, I didn't remember. And there is no connection between the book and the story of our film.
Merci Marie. Il y a une question pour Agnès sur l'écriture. Enfin, I'll read it in English and then Marie, you could translate it, please. I really loved the drawings in L'Heure de l'Ours. I thought it was very original. I was curious to know more. Was drawn on a computer screen rather than paper, and a little bit about how the film was animated.
J'aime beaucoup les dessins dans L'Heure de l'Ours. Ils sont très originaux et la personne est curieuse de savoir comment ils ont été réalisés les images. Est-ce que c'était du dessin ou est-ce que c'était à l'ordinateur et comment ça a été animé?
En fait, c'est les deux. Moi, j'avais fait des aquarelles sur papier noir en préparation du film. J'avais énormément aimé la technique. Donc, j'avais décidé voilà, que si le film se faisait, il faudrait qu'on arrive à le faire en aquarelle sur papier noir. Sachant qu'en animation, on a besoin de la transparence du papier en général pour faire le mouvement si on veut animer sur papier. Donc, ce qui s'est passé, c'est que j'ai décidé de subdiviser le tournage en deux parties. La première partie, c'était l'animation. Là, en l'occurrence, on aurait pu la faire sur papier, mais il se trouve que c'était pour des raisons essentiellement de gain de temps et de numérisation d'images. On les a faites sur des logiciels d'animation traditionnels, image par image, donc sur ordinateur. Et ensuite, en fait, on avait ces suites d'images et on les vidéoprojetait avec un petit picoprojecteur sur notre papier noir et on les peignait ensuite.
So it was both a real drawing and computer created. She had done a watercolor on black background, and it's a medium that she was very interested in. And then, but to animate them, usually you use the transparency of the paper. So they had to divide the creation in two parts. One using the computer, creating image by image, and to start the process, and then projecting those images on black paper and coloring them on black paper.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn had a comment, and she said she's pleased to see so many women involved in the creation of the films. Is this only in the French short films, or is it in French films in general? C'est une question générale.
Quelqu'un qui est ravi de constater qu'il y a beaucoup de femmes dans la création de courts-métrages, en tout cas ici. Est-ce que c'est le reflet de la création de films en France en général?
Maybe I can answer a little bit about animation. I think that in animation, there is a lot of women nowadays, young women making films, short films, but not only, series, and is really changing from maybe 5 years or something. It's yes, there is something very, very strong, a powerful movement for women in animation nowadays, I think. I don't know if Agnès, you agree or what? But I think, yes. I'm not sure that it's especially French, but it's, yeah, it's happening.
I don't know if it's especially French, but yes, that's true. In animation right now, there is a lot of women making films and great films. So that's really cool.
Okay.
Anybody else? Is it the same thing for the live action? We have 2 women for 1 man, so Mathilde.
J'aimerais vous dire oui, mais comment dire, statistiquement, non, pas du tout. Donc, non. Et là, ça se trouve comme ça, mais statistiquement, non. Donc, on va pas dire l'inverse. Mais par contre, je pense qu'il y a de plus en plus de femmes, de jeunes femmes, qui essayent de plus en plus de productrices aussi. Donc, quand même, il y a un mouvement, oui. Mais il y a un mouvement, je crois, de changement, oui.
Et Marie, quel est votre ressenti?
But I think that this year it was historic. It was the first time that there are 4 women and only Loïc and a lot of producers. I don't know why. I don't know if it was politic or not, but it was historic. And I think it's moving and slowly. Maybe in short film there are more women than in feature film. I don't. Yes, of course. And but I think it's a lot of things. It's about education too. I don't know. It's moving, but it's complicated.
Loïc.
Oui, je rejoins tout ce qui s'est dit et j'ai l'impression qu'il y a un mouvement qui se passe et qui est très, qui est très important. Après, malheureusement, pour rejoindre un peu ce que disait Mathilde aussi, j'ai l'impression que c'est aussi de plus en plus difficile. C'est-à-dire, plus on avance, plus la place des femmes est difficile. Je pense que le passage au long métrage et l'attribution des budgets importants sur les films est toujours hyper discriminant. Enfin, et ça bouge très, très, très lentement, quoi. Il y a encore beaucoup, beaucoup de travail.
Just to translate what Mathilde was saying earlier, she would like to say yes, that there's a gender equality in film, but the truth is no, that statistically it is not a reality at all yet. But it is going in the right direction, and we see more and more women producing and creating films. And Loïc was agreeing with this, adding that the further you go into like long feature films or bigger productions, the harder it is for women to get fundings or team together or to fully complete projects. But it is going in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie. And thank you for those responses too. What, for all of the filmmakers, what made you choose the particular place that you set your film in? We went from Louisiana to Paris, we went to nuclear test sites and restricted zones. What was the inspiration for the place that you set your film in?
Quelle était l'inspiration pour les lieux de tournage? Donc, il y a plein de lieux différents. Est-ce qu'il y a eu des raisons particulières pour le choix de vos lieux de tournage?
Oh, maybe I can answer, but because it's a bit specific, because in Schum's Odyssey we choose a kind of a kind like Louisiana, but it's not really Louisiana. It's a dreamy Louisiana, let's say. It was a very strong inspiration to us because we do like all the fauna and flora, which is very rich in this specific area, and we had, you know, the forest, the ocean, a lot of the mangrove, of course, which is so important in the countryside, and all this, you know, biological equilibrium of the nature. And there was also in Louisiana a lot of species, very interesting one, owls, of course, alligators, a lot of birds, a raccoon, which are so important in the story. And yeah, so it was something that in this a kind of a place in which we will be able to tell a very interesting and rich story about nature, which was, of course, at stake in the story and very important to us. Yeah.
Anybody else have something specific to say about the location? Is it sometimes a financial decision, like you get you get a region or something to give money, and so you have to film at a certain place? Is that part of the decision?
Est-ce que certaines décisions étaient dictées ou influencées par des subventions qui du coup requièrent que vous filmiez dans un certain lieu, dans une certaine région?
Marie, la Bretagne.
Yes, of course. No, it was not a financial decision. In fact, my dad grew up in Lorient and in the Avenue La Perrière, which is along the port, Quai Roman. And I remember this place all the time when I was a kid. And after school, because I made my school in Belgium, I wanted to return to make a movie there, but I didn't know why. I didn't know if it will be a documentary or a film, and so I explore a little bit the port. I met a lot of person. I go on boats. I was sick. It was a long adventure, and finally I discovered a hidden part, and it's a lot of women in the fish factories who take the good part of the fishes. And I don't know, but I was very impressed by this woman. It's a very hard job, and I had a lot of admiration, and so I get engaged during a summer there to know better. And in the same time, I met the woman with the story, and I feel that it could be a perfect place to tell this story. And I don't know, it was very graphic, and I feel inspired. And so that after we ask for the money of Brittany after the choice.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to talk about the location of their film?
Mathilde.
Oui, moi je peux dire, il a été question de faire le film dans n'importe quelle ville, mais en France, les choses sont très très centralisées autour de Paris. Et comme j'avais quand même envie qu'il y ait quelque chose de l'ordre du conte, en tout cas qui puisse être parlant tout de suite. Comment dire, l'idée de tourner à Paris et de trouver une chambre de bonne avec une fenêtre qui donne sur Paris a été quand même est devenu assez important dans le film, pour que, comme un peu dans une bande dessinée ou dans je sais pas comment vous dire, pour que les images parlent très rapidement en fait, et qu'on sente qu'il y ait un seul plan avec la mer. Donc ça, c'est en Charente-Maritime, qui est la mer une fois, et dans une fenêtre toute la ville, quoi. Que les choses soient très précises, et voilà. Donc c'était des lieux importants, oui.
So for Mathilde, it could have been any city, but the fact is that France is very centralized around Paris. And so the way she wanted to tell this story was like a tale where things are understood pretty quickly. So there is a scene with the sea, the ocean, that speaks for itself. And then you get to Paris and you have this chambre de bonne, which is the maiden's quarters, which is typical for students to move in. So immediately you have part of the story told, just seeing the whole city through this one small window. Yeah, it was just a way of accelerating the backstory in the film.
How about Agnès, where did you have a sense of your film being in a particular place, or do you feel it's more of an abstract setting?
I think it's more of an abstract set. I wanted it to be like in a story you tell to children, maybe, lonely house in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there is also this influence of American movies, great spaces. And in fact, I like lonely places. I don't know why, but to me, it's a good way for my brain to start a story.
And so do the bears live there kind of in reality, or are they more abstract as well?
Sorry, Marie, could you translate this?
Les ours, est-ce que dans ce lieu, ils existeraient en vrai, ou est-ce que les ours sont aussi une image abstraite ou une métaphore?
C'est une bonne question. Je pense que ils existeraient en vrai pour les enfants.
They would probably exist in reality for the children.
I was asking because in California we have bears, and the bears are moving closer and closer to like people's houses, because people are kind of having their houses in places where, you know, where the bears used to be, and bears are coming down for food, and they're getting used to kind of being around people. And so I was very struck by those images because of what we live here.
You're right. When I was writing the story, I also watched some videos with bears coming really close to houses, mostly in the north. So white bears or grizzly, maybe. But yes, it talks to me.
Ok. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions du public? Is there other questions people would like to ask?
You can unmute yourself or raise your hand if you have questions. There was actually another question for you, Agnes. I'm giving you the French, the English pronunciation of your name, Agnes. About your son, about sorry, I lost everybody. Whoops. Oh no, Kevin, I see you. About your son, sorry, how old is your son, and has he seen the film, and what does he think about the film?
Yes, I was about to write the answer. He's 6 years old, and when he saw the film for the first time, he was maybe 4.5, and it was a good. My son hates animation. he only watches documentaries, or I think he grew up in opposition to my my work. Maybe because I was really far from home a long time, so he decided animation was not a good thing to watch. But when he watched the film, he said, "Oh, when the mother kills the bear, she kills his anger." And I was, okay, so that's fine. I don't care who watches the film, but my son understood what I wanted to tell him.
Good, very good.
And yes, also, sorry.
Excuse me.
I wanted to say for the people who have not watched the show that you actually won the César on Friday for the best animated film. So wanted to congratulate you and
thank you.
Très bien, très bien.
And so we're gonna, in case you all don't know, we're having our own little César from Sacramento. So people are going to receive a voting ballot this afternoon or tomorrow, and everybody's gonna vote in the animated and the live action category, and we're gonna have our own Sacramento Awards, and so we'll let you know who was the winner of that. Marie, si tu peux traduire, je sais pas si.
Il y aura aussi un vote pour le festival de Sacramento qui va être il y aura des bulletins de vote virtuels qui vont être envoyés demain pour les 2 catégories également, et vous serez avertis des gagnants.
one question from the audience is, do short filmmakers make any money doing their films, or do you have to have a regular job as well as making a short films?
Est-ce que les réalisateurs de courts, est-ce que vous pouvez gagner votre vie avec ça? Est-ce que vous avez d'autres fonctions à côté, ou est-ce que vous pouvez vivre de votre art?
Loïc?
Moi, je peux répondre. C'est pas suffisant. En fait, on n'est pas payé assez. Quand on arrive à financer le court-métrage correctement, on ne touche pas assez d'argent pour vivre, d'autant que voilà, on peut faire maximum un court-métrage tous les 2 ou 3 ans. Donc ça ne suffit pas. Et moi, je fais à côté, j'ai un autre travail où j'anime des ateliers des ateliers sur le cinéma dans des écoles et dans des lycées, par exemple. Et donc, il faut trouver une combine pour avoir un travail qui nous fait vivre et en même temps qui nous permette de dégager suffisamment de temps pour mener à bien nos projets.
So in Loic's case, it's not something that he can really live off. If the film is correctly financed, then he can produce a short maybe every 2-3 years. So in his case, he also teaches little like workshops in schools, and he has to find something where it gives him enough time to create his projects while also, earning the money.
Anyone else like to talk about that side of filmmaking?
Marie?
Yes, no, but I agree. I think it's not possible to do only short films on. Okay, for me it depends. I worked on shootings. Now it's better. I don't know, but because we have author fees, we have sometimes prices, so it's not only the salary and the shooting. After the movie, we sometimes have something, but I think that no, you have to find a balance. For example, me, I was able to work on my short film during a specific time, but because I had prices before, and just after the shooting and the editing, I had 0 on my bank account, so I work again, and now it's better, but it's like that.
So speaking of money, Sony asked about distribution of these films. Is it possible, for example, Claire, to buy a copy of Shum?
Well, yes, Shum is well distributed nowadays, but it depends on the territory, of course. In the US, it's still a little bit difficult. We are hoping to distribute it in the US, and we are lucky enough to have those, broadcasting in several festivals. In France, you can find it on DVD and VOD. VOD in English as well.
Yeah, VOD in English. Yeah.
Yeah, so, now we have also some official broadcasting, which are, they are buying the film. The film is sold in 25 countries nowadays. So it's coming, and I hope that you will be able to buy it in the US in a few months, maybe, hoping, yeah.
Is that the same for everybody? Is it sort of similar that you can get your films on DVD in other places, or?
Comment sera faite la distribution de vos films? Est-ce que c'est des films que nous pourrons trouver en DVD quelque part?
Oui, Mathilde.
En fait, Il y a peu d'éditions DVD quand même de courts-métrages, à part parfois dans je crois, dans des regroupements thématiques ou des éditions, je sais pas, mais je crois qu'il y en a assez peu. Sinon, en France, c'est les diffusions à la télévision, en fait. Enfin, les chaînes achètent les films, les diffusent. Donc, c'est comme ça que les films sont vus, en général, quand ils ne sont pas vus en salle dans des festivals, en fait. C'est un peu le chemin, quoi.
Yeah, the usual route for short films through festivals starts with festivals, and in France, it is broadcast on TV a lot. TV channels will buy them to show them. The distribution of DVD is not necessarily common. It can happen with thematic compilations or some projects that will group a variety of short films under a specific theme. But it's usually on TV or on TV.
Maybe I can add something, because there is something a little bit specific about Schum's Odyssey, is that the film was released in French cinema in 2020, just before the pandemic situation and the closure of the theater. So it was an opportunity to us to show the film to a larger audience. And we made some, arrangement with some cinema distributors, especially in Europe, for the film to be released in cinema as well, when, of course, the theater will be open again. So it's a little bit specific. And it was released in a program for children with 2 other short films, also dedicated to young audience and animated ones. And it was a 40 minutes long program, so it's a little bit specific, let's say. Yeah.
Anyone else? Quelqu'un d'autre?
Loïc, non?
Sur la diffusion des films, là, cette année, ça a été une année un peu particulière parce que, du coup, avec tous les festivals qui ont été annulés, j'ai l'impression que là, les films ont été beaucoup vus sur les plateformes avec tous les festivals qui ont eu lieu en ligne. Du coup, il y a une espèce de diffusion en réseau, et même maintenant, ce qui se fait de plus en plus, et ça, c'est vraiment très bien pour le court-métrage, c'est que les chaînes télé, quand elles diffusent, il y a aussi le replay. Et c'est vrai que comme les courts-métrages sont vus, sont programmés en plein milieu de la nuit, le replay permet de beaucoup démocratiser le court-métrage.
So this year particularly was very special because of the pandemic. The usual festival showings could not happen, so it was a lot online on the festival's platforms. And what is more and more done as well is that when TV channels buy short films, which are usually shown at night or in the less desirable times of day, they still live on the VOD platforms of the TV channel, so people can still access them online on the TV channels platforms.
Well, could each of you say just a little something about what your plans are for now, for the future? What you're kind of working on now? What are you
I also wanted to know, because you are all gathered coming from very different backgrounds, because you were nominated for the César Award, and I wanted to know what it also, if you can say, what it means to you. I mean, both emotionally, and does it open doors for you in the future to have been nominated for César? Marie.
Donc double question, plan, projet pour le futur, et la question de Cécile, le fait, en fait, ce qui vous réunit tous ici d'avoir été nominé pour un César, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire pour vous, qu'est-ce que ça signifie pour vous, et est-ce que ça vous ouvre des portes que vous n'aviez pas forcément avant?
Alors, Agnès, puisque...
Alors, les plans pour le futur, oui, il y en a, mais ils sont tous en début Enfin, ils sont très embryonnaires. Donc, continuez à faire des films déjà, ce sera bien. Voilà, si on peut. Et après, le César, je ne sais pas trop si la nomination avait amené quelque chose en particulier, peut-être un peu, enfin, une autre lumière sur le film. Mais j'ai l'impression que comme le film avait déjà eu un parcours en festival et dans plein d'endroits, du coup, ça avait déjà amené des collaborations en fait avec d'autres gens. J'ai pu travailler sur un documentaire où j'ai fait des parties animées parce que le film était passé au festival We Are One, qui est le festival en ligne, qui était le festival en ligne qu'on fait Cannes, Venise, Berlin, etc. au moment de la pandémie. Donc voilà, ça avait amené tout ça. Après, je sais pas, là c'est un peu frais, donc on va voir. C'est un peu stressant aussi.
So yes, there are a lot of projects coming up, but they're still in the conception phase. So and really still nothing she can fully talk about. For the effect of the César nomination, it's a little too soon to tell, but her film had already lived its life through other festivals. Most importantly, We Are One, which was several festivals joining together during the pandemic to do an online festival, through which she already made lots of new contacts and was called to work on to make animated parts in a documentary, for example.
Mathilde.
Alors moi, comme c'était un premier film et que, comme je disais tout à l'heure, j'ai mis du temps à me lancer, en tout cas à décider à essayer de faire mes films. Je dirais que cette année passée sans festival, mais avec festival quand même, puisque sans festival en présentiel, mais avec beaucoup de gens qui ont pu voir le film. Et tout ça avec les Césars et la nomination m'ont beaucoup encouragée et quelque part, c'est vraiment comme si ça m'avait soufflé dans les voiles, quoi, parce que j'ai écrit pendant cette période. Ça a vraiment fait un effet au-delà de la visibilité et de ce que ça peut faire par rapport à mes interlocuteurs, je veux dire financiers, tout ça. Moi, ça m'a donné beaucoup d'élan et de courage. Voilà, donc je continue.
So this was Mathilde's very first film, and she spent a lot of time hesitating before making it. And so the fact that it went through a lot of festivals, so not live festivals, but the online versions of the festivals this year encouraged her a lot, really gave her new wind to follow this path and so continue making projects.
Et Marie?
Yes, so I'm writing my first feature, but I would like to make other films before. Short film and documentary I thought a long time before, because I don't want to wait 4 years before before be on a shooting. And the César, yes, it was to be honest, for me, it was a little bit complicated to promote the film in the idea of the César, because I don't like all around the César, but I understood that it was a big opportunity to share the film. In fact, it was like a light on the movie, and the César helped to share the movie, to have new discussion, to meet new people. And so it was really a big, I really realized that it was great on this side. So yes, it was a bit encouragement for me too, because I discussed with other people and it was great.
Et Loïc?
Je rejoins ce qu'a dit, Marie. C'est vrai que c'est un petit peu difficile de faire la promotion d'un film longtemps après qu'il ait été fait, mais après voilà, c'est un honneur et un encouragement, et c'est aussi très agréable de vivre, d'accompagner le film aussi en pensant à tous ceux qui l'ont fait, les producteurs, les acteurs, tous les gens de l'équipe technique et toutes les personnes qui ont été présentes pour faire le film. C'est aussi c'est aussi un remerciement, une récompense pour tous les gens qui ont participé. Ça, c'est chouette.
So it's always a little bit difficult to promote a film so long after it was made, but it's always an honor. It's always very encouraging, and he sees it as a way of also paying tribute to everyone who has worked on the film to continue to make it live, all the technical teams, everyone who has had an influence or who worked on the film gets to have the film live on.
Pardon, j'interviens. Comment vous expliquez que les courts-métrages, qui étendent de temps entre le moment où le court-métrage est fait et une nomination au César, par exemple?
How is that explained? Why is there so much time between a film's completion and the time that they're nominated at the César, for example?
C'est lié à un moment où les producteurs inscrivent le film. C'est aussi très administratif. Hein. Les producteurs décident d'inscrire le film pour concourir au César à un moment ou à un autre, et c'est mieux de l'inscrire à un moment où le film a déjà eu une vie en festival et a a commencé à avoir une histoire.
D'accord, ok. Je comprends.
It's very much.
Excusez-moi, allez-y.
It's very much bureaucratic or administrative reasons behind it. Usually, the producers are the ones who submit the candidacy for an award, and usually for the César, it's better to have had the film go through other festivals and already gain some recognition before competing for a César.
Merci. Et Claire, pour finir, pour les projets et le César.
Yes, about the project, we continue to work with Julien Bizarro. We have another one coming, just developing actually, which will be a longer format, I think, targeted to the same audience. And we are also working on a shorter film for adult audience, because we want to do several things and speak about different subjects. And about the César, it's always, it's a fantastic moment. It's like a present to be there, to have this opportunity to share the work, as it had been said, and especially for us, because it's very rare to have a film targeted to young audience at the César. It's almost never, it's never happening. So it was a great opportunity to us to be there, and of course it's always the nice moment on which you can have the opportunity to discover a lot of things and a lot of films as well. And for us, we have a next step, because maybe you know that we have free nomination to the Annie Awards. So it's our next step on the US. It's the Annies. So let's go. Finger crossed.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Should we say thank you to our audience and to our very special guests from France? Thank you, Claire and Mathilde, Marie, Agnès, and Loic for your insight, for your comments. It's a pleasure to see you, and we hope to be able to bring you here one day too.
Sorry, Alexa, did you raise your hand? No, okay. Sorry, Kevin.
Okay, go ahead, Cécile.
No, I thought that Alexa had raised her hand. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, donc je voudrais vous remercier d'avoir pris le temps de passer 1h30 avec nous. C'était très très chouette de vous voir. Et j'ai dit chouette, mais bon.
mais oui, c'est normal. Hein. On a le droit de le dire quand même.
Merci beaucoup d'avoir pris le temps. C'est vraiment fantastique pour notre public de voir les réalisateurs, réalisatrices en personne. Et nous espérons qu'un jour, on pourra vous inviter ici et que vous viendrez.
Merci à vous, c'était super.
Ça serait super, ouais.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci et au revoir. Et Sacramento people, and sorry, and way beyond, because Boston was in the house today, right? And
Yes, Boston.
some other people. I think was it Chicago and Washington too. So yeah, we've been expanded because of the because our films are available all over the US. So so thank you. And so we'll be showing a family-friendly movie called The Fabulous Adventure of Margot and Marguerite in 2 weeks. So and the director Pierre Corré will be there for Zoom Q&A. So till then, enjoy life. And merci à tous les réalisateurs et à Claire aussi.
Merci à vous.
Merci, bye bye.
Au revoir Loïc,
See
au revoir
you.
Marie, au revoir Claire,
Ouais.
au revoir Mathilde, au revoir Agnès et merci. Hein. Merci
Au
beaucoup.
revoir.
Merci.